I'm so excited to share this interview today. Spencer and I are going to talk about shattering the walls and genuinely loving yourself. Before he discovered how to be the master of his energy sovereignty, Spencer thought he was loving himself when he wasn't. He had lots of walls built around him. When he broke through all of those, he discovered what he truly wanted, not what he was supposed to want. According to what society tries to dictate. Spencer Jones is igniting people's lights so they can chase their passions, help others, and live their life to the max. Known as the Prince of Positivity, he shares his positive energy and spreads joy around the world. He does this by sharing tips, tricks, and strategies to help others live life to the max through his daily Energize podcast, along with the Jonesin for Academy and various events. Spencer is also the host of the Jonesin First Show. He wrote Chase Your Passions, Kayak Fishing Adventures, and Beyond the Breakers. Grab your coconuts, whatever that means, and be ready to be inspired and empowered as Spencer, welcome. Welcome to the Coconut Soul Spirit podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here today. And as we were just talking before, I'm so excited because you have a men's community and it's so important for men, women to get together sometimes separately. Maybe we'll talk about that during the interview. This being said, I'd love to know what your self-love journey looks like.
I appreciate you asking. So it's been an interesting journey here for me over the last, I'm 36. Over the last 36 years, it's been really interesting because, as a kid, I was outdoorsy, I was outgoing and loved life. I think hopefully like the majority of kids out there, we really did. And then as I got older, I started to buying into the beliefs that I wasn't worthy, I wasn't enough, and that I need to prove myself to the world, to my parents, to whoever would listen. And so I let that be my guiding light for so many years until just like 3 years ago, when I'd finally realized, and I was already doing personal growth and development at the time. I was doing those things, but what happened is all of a sudden I realized I didn't love me. As a matter of fact, I hated me.
Wow, that's a strong word.
Extremely strong word, but I hated who I was. I felt this void deep inside me, and I tried everything I could to fill it, for years, right? And trying to prove myself was just trying to fill that void. So that's how I was trying to show self-love, was by doing all these different things to fill that void, and nothing was filling it. It was a bottomless pit. And what happened is, so I was letting my ego make all the decisions, trying to prove myself and leading that way, that I made choices in my life that were stupid choices. It hurt people I love and care about, hurt me. And it literally broke me, right? It took a bulldozer, whatever you want to call it, a bomb, and shattered all of those walls, the armor and things I thought were protecting me, right? But in truth, what it was doing, it wasn't protecting me from the outside world. It was hiding my light, hiding me, hiding the Spencer inside, and creating this bottomless pit that I was just trying to stuff and fill that nothing could do. And so it took all those walls shattering, where I felt cold, alone, tired. Suicide was an option for me. And I had to figure out, okay, who am I? Who is this Spencer? What do I believe in? What's my purpose? What's my point of being here? If I'm not going to commit suicide, okay, but what's the purpose of all this and me and going forward? And so thankfully, I already had some self-love practices in place before that, but they never broke through all those walls. I had tons of walls up. I had tons of armor up. None of that stuff was reaching in. It wasn't until they all became shattered that I finally realized, I don't like who I am. I hated who I was and didn't like me at all. I could not look myself in the mirror and look myself in the eye and tell myself I love me. Not a chance. I could have been lying, right? Maybe I could say about lying, but not truthfully. So after those walls broke, it took a lot of self-love, a lot of self-healing that looked a lot of different ways of me looking at my past, looking at the things I've done, coming to terms with it, accepting it, processing it, taking the lessons from that, keeping the
Yes.
lessons and then dropping the guilt and shame,
Mm-hmm.
and working to release that. And it's still 3 years. I've come a long, long, long ways, but there's still times, right? Still times
Of
when that
course.
things pop up and I'm like, okay. Sometimes I just like, nope, we worked through it. We're good. Let it go. Other times I'm like, maybe there's another lesson here. Let's see,
Oh, I love it.
perhaps there's something else. And I can look and learn and grow from it. So to put it in a fun analogy, this is one a friend said with me when I was going through my really, really dark time. And it stuck with me, and I share it now when I can, is I think I look at it like our backyard. And if our backyard had tons of weeds, right? My backyard had tons of weeds.
Yes.
Meaning the fact that I hated myself, that I didn't like me, that I was always trying to prove my worth, my value, all that it was filled with weeds. And well, you can go and mow the weeds. You can take your weed whacker and whack them down, but all that's going to do is they're just going to come right back up and come back stronger. The way you get rid of weeds is you have to go down to the root and pull it from the roots, get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's hard work.
Right? It's hard work. And it's not easy. It's hard. It's difficult. It's sensitive. It's emotional, but it's so moving when you do. So for years, and especially within those first couple of months, I did the hard work. I dug out the whatever that tool is that goes after the weeds, right after the roots.
Yes.
I took that out and I started to go after the roots of the things that were holding me back, of making me feel those beliefs. So I had a therapist that I met with, and they helped me, give me the tools, strategies, awareness to work through those things, and then continue to do the work with them through meditation, through reflection, through journaling, through all the different modes of different things that work for me to be aware. Okay, here are the things that are going on. Okay, let's see. Where's the root of it? Where's that stemming from? Where's that? Oh, it goes down here, goes down here, goes down here. And a lot of it, be the psychologists of it all, like from our childhood, from things that were ingrained in us. But okay, here's where it is. All right, now let's ask ourselves, is it true? Is that really true at that time? Does it define me as me? Does it need to? And then, well, how can I change it, turn around? So let's take an example. My parents raised me with guilt. That was their mode of making me behave and do things that they wanted me to do. And my parents did the best they could. I appreciate them. I love them, but that's how they raised me. And so it left me with that feeling I always needed to prove myself. So once I figured this out and the different circumstances, I went, okay, well, if I need to prove myself, like what's an affirmation I could use to turn that around? What seed can I plant that makes a beautiful flower instead of a weed? So now we're planting our flowers instead of weeds. But we have to pull the weed first. So, okay, well, all right, I discovered the weed. I discovered the root. Now we're pulling it out and we're replacing it with an affirmation, with a mantra, something that's going to be positive, uplifting, supportive, and planting that beautiful flower. So for me, it's like, okay, my therapist's like, I do not need to prove a suggestion. I'm like, I like that, but I don't like the fact it has a negative, right?
I relate. Yes.
Right. Like my nickname's a Prince of Positivity. I got that after this point. So as a Prince of Positivity, and just being that way before without the nickname, I was like, I like it, but I don't like the negative. So I was thinking about it afterwards. I'm like, well, okay, if I do not need to prove, that means I'm enough. I'm enough just the way I am. So that then became my affirmation. And I say this all the time to everyone, no matter what stage I'm on, if I can, I tell people you are amazing, you are worthy, and you are enough.
Yay.
And all that stems, right? All that stems from the stuff that I was going through, all that crap, weeds I was pulling, and realizing, all right, what's the reverse of that? So I'm enough. I don't need to prove. So I've been saying that and working at believing that and making it something where I could step into that truth and allow my true light to shine bright. And now we have years, after doing that hard work, we pulled all the majority of the weeds. Some of them still like to pop up, but we have a beautiful backyard of flowers now so much that we're able to pick those flowers and give them to other people.
That's beautiful.
To make their life light up and help them pull their weeds, plant the flowers, and we spread it. So like my goal, my mission is to help 1 billion people in this world.
Amazing.
To next feel amazing. So we're passing flowers out to over 1 billion people and helping them do the same so that we can truly change the world.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love the analogy, Spencer. It's inspiring also. And it's important to have those analogies because sometimes we conceptualize some ideas, but we don't grasp everything until there's an image like that that's been placed. Now, from what you've said, I do have 2 questions.
Yeah.
And I'll go with the first one. The second one will be coming back to your analogy.
Okay.
The first one is you mentioned that at some point you thought you were doing self-love things, self-care, or whatever it is. And I'd like you in just a moment to elaborate on that, because maybe sometimes someone can think they're loving themselves and they're not. So as you share your examples, then maybe that's going to bring a haha moment to someone. So what were those false self-love things that you did back then, Spencer?
Fabulous question. I would say that before I say what those things were,
Yes.
I would say it's because I didn't let them go deep enough, right? I had that armor up. The reason that they weren't useful at the time and they were false is because it's not that those things were false. It's because I didn't let them truly get down to where they were pouring into me. So the things, right? I always worked out, but or not always. I hated working out for years and years, right? I started when I was in my late 20s. I started late 20s when I started working out. I've been doing it almost 10 years. But in any case, I started working out because I didn't like myself. I didn't like the way I looked and felt. So I started working out to feel better. So that can be self-love, but it's twisted and churned into other things of like trying to have people look at me, trying to look the best, or, having that idea of, hey, look at me, right? Letting my ego be the driver of that. So taking something that could be self-love and then churning into something more egotistical. And now I still work out, but it's purely for self-love so that I can do the things I love to do, chase my passions, help other people, and celebrate what my body can do while pushing it, right? Like I'm learning how to do handstands, right? I can hold a 30-second handstand. Cool. Because, okay, that's a cool challenge and it helps me make sure my body's functioning at its best. So that's one way. Another way would be meditation. I remember, fun story, like I love meditation. I teach and lead meditations multiple times a week. I love it. Well, when I started doing this, started meditating years ago, and I have an ADHD style brain, not diagnosed, but fairly certain I'm ADHD. I'm all over the place, that it was really, really hard for me to focus and concentrate. And I could do it for maybe 30 seconds, maybe 1 minute tops. And then it was like, okay, after that, it slowly built up to longer and longer times. But what's interesting, and I don't share this part of the story that often, because I share how I get into meditation, how times grew, the more I practiced. But the interesting thing is, upon reflection, I was meditation is supposed to calm you, right? Make you relax, happier, something along those lines. I got it did not help my attitude. I used to have anger issues before my walls came crumbling down. I had to face myself, right? It's all that inner war that was going on. That what happened is when the days I meditate, not during the meditation, but after that day, my anger would spike. I would be shorter. I would not be as calm, or in the moment, I would be even more agitated. And so there's a self-practice or self-love practice that I do now that's truly for self-love, that was for self-love before and support, but it wasn't actually doing anything. It was actually doing the reverse. And so for me, if I look at it and I think about it, I would say, okay, it's feeling that war, it's feeling that dissonance that I felt inside of me, right? That dissonance of me hiding and trying to be calm. It's like, oh, here's this, and it's like this war raging. And then here's like, oh, here's this peace comfort. And like, no, I don't want this. And so it caused this battle that I could not control until those walls came crashing down. And I hope no one has those walls come crashing down. I know it happens. Hopefully we can help dismantle them and bring them down and dissolve them in a way that's
slowly.
A little bit nicer than having like a bulldozer or a bomb go off and destroy them. But in any case, know that you're not alone no matter what. If you're doing it slowly or the bomb goes off, we're here for you.
Amazing. Yeah, we've got your back. That's important. Right. I like what you just said. You shared So basically, I understand better what you meant earlier. And what I take from it is it was a part of the intention. That was number one. That was your first example. And the second one is the result. If the result wasn't there, then there was some questions to be asked. And that, before we go back to the weeds, it's me being a bit curious. If maybe you didn't give a sense, but as you were meditating and your anger was spiking afterwards, did you give a sense to that? Did you ask yourself why? If so, did you find the reason? Was that even important? I don't know. But these are all the questions, Spencer, that I have about what you just said.
At that time when I was meditating, I remember the meditations, and I remember feeling this way in the moment, that the meditations didn't seem to be giving me the effect that they seem to have given other people, right? Like everyone seems to be like, oh, this is so calming, this is so nice and peaceful. And it might have been in that moment that I could do it, but it was more like, hey, look, I could focus on them for 30 seconds. I could focus for 2 minutes. It was things like that, but I'd never left it feeling like I feel rested. I feel more focused. I feel calmer. I feel happy. I never left a meditation like that back then. Now, 1000%.
Of course. Yeah.
But back then, not a chance. And I remember those, even at the time, reflecting and going, why am I angrier or more prone to being upset on the days that I meditate as opposed to the days I don't? Maybe meditation's not for me, right? Type of thing was all that stuff going through my head at the time. So I did realize it. I was analyzing it, but why wasn't it working? Couldn't figure it out. Could not figure that out at the time. I was trying to, but couldn't figure it out because I was so, how do I say this? I built so many walls and shelters and armor, whatever, that I did not even know me. Like it was, I was so buried. It wasn't like I have boundaries. Like I have boundaries now with certain people or certain things. And it's kind of a wall to a degree, right? Like, nope, the boundary. But back then it was boundary, that the sovereignty of Spencer was, you couldn't see him at all. Like it wasn't that it was non-existent. It was there. He was there, but you couldn't see it. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't see it. I don't know. I've been married for 15, almost 16 years, and God bless.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know how she stayed with me because I didn't know who the heck I was, right? I didn't know that. I don't know how she could see through all of that. And yet somehow she did to a degree, but I didn't see that. So for me, I was even lost knowing who I was. And it wasn't until that came crumbling down where I could finally see who I was. And it was just a scared little boy who didn't believe in himself, who didn't love himself, who hated where he let life take him, and then have to rework it.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. Once again, Spencer, you're authentic. Wow. A lot of impact. And there was no precise answer of why. And sometimes it does not matter. We don't have to understand. You still went on with the process. And at some point, what needed to happen. Those walls, as you mentioned, went down and you were able to get back to that true essence. And I like that you say that it was the young, scared little boy. Not necessarily the scared part, but it was that little boy that you were, the 07 when we're pure and all good. And at some point we do get scared and then we get some layers on.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because as all of us, as we go through life and on this beautiful human journey, we start doing things and following things, and our life, God, source, whatever you want to call it, will give you little reminders or little points to be like, oh, hey, check this, right? oh, this is getting a little far. It was doing that to me multiple times, right? Multiple times.
Were you stubborn?
Oh, of course I was, right? Of course I was. I was thinking of my ego saying, no, I'm the king of this. I could do whatever I want. I'm good. I could build this. I could do this. It wasn't confidence talking. Although I knew I had talents and could do certain things, I had sometimes cockiness. It was that ego leading me that said, nope, I'm good. And so when people try, or God or whoever, through people, whatever you want to call it, checked me or asked or gave those little bumps like, hey, remember this? I blew it off, right? I blew it off.
Yes,
And still, it's like when you, if you're pushing your body too hard, your body's going to give you signals. It's going to make you get a little achy or sore. You might get sick. And it signals like, okay, if I'm pushing so hard at work, if I'm burning the candle at both ends, I might be fine for a little bit, but all of a sudden I start getting tired. All of a sudden I start getting, feeling exhausted. I got sick. It's your body trying to force you to take a break, until some people ignore all that and keep going and going until they have burnout, right? And then they're burnt out. They hate whatever they're doing potentially, or they end up in a hospital, or they end up dead because they weren't paying attention to the signals that their body was giving them. I wasn't paying attention to the signals life was giving me, saying, yo, you have all these walls. It's time to figure this out. And all of it came crashing down for me to realize what the heck was going on.
I understand. And I relate. We do sometimes need those little taps and to bring us back in the path. And if we don't understand, well, God, or as you say, what we believe in, will show us, will bring us back into our line, so we can accomplish our destiny or purpose.
Right.
Now I'd like to go back to the garden.
Yeah.
So you had that garden that was full of weeds, but sometimes, like in the Bible, with the weeds, there's some good stuff, the stuff that's you. And sometimes there's those weeds that mimic beautiful flowers. My question for you is, as you're taking out the weeds, how could you differentiate, see the difference between a weed and the beautiful flower? And how were you able to, as the flower and the weeds were close by, not take out the flower as you were taking out the weed? That's my question for you, Spencer. Yeah.
That's a beautiful use of that analogy. I love it. I've never been asked that question before. Well, you're right. I had weeds in my life that mimic beautiful flowers, ones that I thought that served me, that helped me, that spoke life and energy into me. And they might have been for a time, until it turned poisonous, right? Until it started to turn me away from my purpose, from the people in my life who truly loved me and supported me, and started planting its venom. And I let it, right? Because it was a pretty flower, and I got sucked into that life, if that makes sense, into that idea. So that's happened to me. I've been there. So if someone's going through, I get it. Don't beat yourself up, right? Because we all get fooled. It happens. But now what I do, and what I did once I started discovering, oh crap, my backyard is full of weeds, and there's a couple flowers in there, which is nice, and let's plant more. I use kind of like a compass, right? Or to figure this out. And so the compass is, what's my purpose? And what are my priorities in life? Now, at the time, I couldn't tell you exactly what my purpose is. I couldn't tell you. And now I could tell you really clearly, because I've been thinking and reflecting and saying it, and then tweaking it and adjusting it and tweaking and adjusting. And I'm sure it's going to kind of keep going. But now I feel really solid with what it is. But at the time, I'm like, okay, what brings me joy? What truly brings me joy? And what feels right? What's in true alignment? And if I didn't know, then it probably wasn't no, right? First of all, if I didn't truly feel it in my heart of hearts, it probably wasn't right. But even at that point, right, I let my ego lead me for years and years and years. I didn't know which way was up. I didn't know. So for me, I had a couple people in my life who were those flowers, who were those trusted people who I would use in a sense of helping me determine, is this beneficial? Is this a weed or is this a flower? Is this helpful? And then having their support until I started to learn more about me, learning, okay, what are my values? What is my purpose? What is my vision? What are my priorities? What are the things important to me? And once I discovered and started to work through, going through the process, working through and understanding those, those then became my compass, my guide, my cheat sheet, whatever you want to call it, for anything that comes up in my life. Any opportunities, any people, any groups, anything, right? I look at it and go, is this a weed or is this a flower? Is this pouring love and life into me, or is it pouring venom into me? Is it taking energy away from me that I don't want to give it? Or is it okay to give that its energy, right? And or is any mix of? So I have people in my life I've intentionally put in place that help me with that I can throw out questions, say like, hey, here's an idea. What do you think? Does it resonate with me? What are your thoughts? Still to this day, right? And they'll be like, hey, or like, Spencer, you're going kind of a little bit too far this way. Cool. They'll check me, right? It's kind of like bumpers when you play, when you go bowling with bumpers. It's that kind of thing. I have people in my life to help keep me in check, to help me. But then I also check in with my priorities, my purpose, my vision, all of that to make sure I keep those bumpers on. And once I learn those for myself, then I didn't need those other people as much because I could self-maintain it using those as the guide, as a compass, or whatever you want to call it.
A beautiful, beautiful answer. You're talking about the bumpers, and then I also saw the training wheels as you started saying that you weren't using, you're not using them as much right now. And as you were talking about the garden, what came to my mind was it didn't really matter if you were pulling out a nice flower, because you could always replant it or nourish it or take care of it. And I think that's something to keep in mind when maybe the more perfectionists of us out there can look at it. And we've been talking for a long time. I think we're over the 25 minutes. However, I was really listening to every single word you were saying, as I'm sure the viewers are doing too. Before you talk about the gift, because you have a beautiful gift to offer for the viewers.
Can I share one thing? I just have
one
thing to share.
Yes, I feel that was my question. Like, what do you want to share? What's your final thought? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just so excited. I'm like, I really want to share this.
Of course, there's some space for you, Spencer.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The thing I want to share is this, in regards to that garden analogy, right? You, as you said so beautifully, you can always replant that flower, and that's beautiful, and 100% sure you can. And usually the people or things in your life will be understanding, and they, like, when you replant things, it might wilt a little bit, and then they'll come back, right? So know that. But the thing I want to share is, for certain parts of your life, those flowers, those people can be there for a time in your life and be the right time in your life. But then they might need to go somewhere else or something else. They've served their time. Not served their time. That sounds bad. But
I understand.
They're part of your life for this length of time, and then it's their time to go somewhere else and do that elsewhere, right? I like think about it as paths, right? I love hiking, being outdoors. So it's like our two paths in the journey of life have come together, and then they've diverged. And some of those times can be beautiful and amazing. Some of those can be really difficult, and times those struggles, right? But for the flowers in our life, sometimes those flowers come together and it's absolutely gorgeous and amazing. And someone will be there for life. Will be in your garden forever. Other times they're there and then they're gone. And it's different lengths of time. And know that that's okay. Don't hold on to all of the flowers, because then that's going to make them turn toxic if they're meant to be going on a different direction and you're holding on to it. So just know that the flowers are there. Some will be with you forever. Some will not be. And that is okay.
It is. And I appreciate how you're making it okay, as you said. So one big takeaway from what you said is you realize you were enough. So the people listening today, you are enough. Yeah. And then it's okay, just the way it is. Don't have to fight it. Thank you very much for adding that last part. And I'm going to ask, did you have anything else you wanted to share before you could tell us about your gift, Spencer?
Oh my gosh. There's so many things I could share. I'll say four things.
Okay.
4 things. And
we're counting.
First one, you are the master of your energy sovereignty. Know that you are. Take that as an affirmation. You are the master of it. What is energy sovereignty? It is, well, we all have beautiful lights inside of us, right? You have a gorgeous light inside of you. Energy sovereignty is that energy flowing in and out of you, that energy pouring in, filling you, that self-love practices, and energy going out, supporting others. It's being the master of that. So knowing that you're not getting that venom, knowing that you're pouring that love into you, and being really intentional about what's coming in and what's going out. So you can be the master of your energy sovereignty. The other three follow this cool little saying that one of our energizers, Jeff Taylor, put together. And it's awesome. You are awesome. And it goes, you are amazing. You are worthy. And you are enough just the way you are. You are awesome. And I hope you remember that. Never, ever forget that.
That's beautiful. And that is a gift in itself.
Yeah.
But you have another gift. I'm so excited about that gift. Tell us about it.
Thank you so much for having me on. I would love to support you on your journey, wherever you are in your journey. And we have put together this really cool online personal growth academy to help you, because you're on your journey, right? You're on that track. You're going to face valleys. There's going to be times when you're in a struggle, in an obstacle. Maybe you're in one now, or you've been in one. That's, I would say, sadly, it's part of life, but it's how we learn and grow. So it's sad and not sad all at the same time, but you will get to that summit, and we would love to help you do that. So I would invite you, and our gift is to give you a free Jonesin for Academy. That's what we call it. So a JFA for short, a JFA apprentice membership. We would love to support you on your journey. So with that apprentice membership, as I said, it's free. You get access to a handful of amazing trainings by a variety of experts who can help you as you come along those obstacles, those struggles. You just tune in and you can access them 24/7 anywhere in the world. And you'll be like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I'd like to learn how to, this meditation thing. Okay, let's learn more about that. What is it really? What does it look like? Journaling. Oh, what's this? Oh, I want to do. We got you covered, right? Under the 5 areas of growth. I'd love to support you on your journey. So yeah, I'd love to give you an apprentice membership.
Quite generous. And people that are inspired today, that are touched, that are moved, that felt the shivers everywhere, that's the next step to take advantage, I'm going to say, of that gift. Spencer, you're such a beautiful human being, and I'm delighted that our paths did cross at this point in my life. I called you, I think, in the beginning, the Prince of Joy. You're the Prince of Positivity. And the joy is the effect of that positivity that you bring and you share with the world. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for doing the work and for your mission of having some ripple effects. It was a blessing welcoming you today, Spencer. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you and giving me this time and space. You are amazing. You're doing incredible work. And I love that our paths came together when they did. And I'm excited to see how long they stay together and how we could support everyone that you are serving and I'm serving, and just let's change the world. So thank you very much.
Amen to that. Wow, Spencer, this was fun. Oh, you are a blessing. I'm happy that we got to talk. I had so much fun interviewing Spencer today, the Prince of Positivity that brings joy to the world with his beautiful light. As he mentioned, we all have that beautiful light inside of us. You have a gorgeous light inside of you. Spencer also told you you are awesome, and I hope you remember that. I sure do. Make sure to grab Spencer's gift. To do so, just access his gift by clicking the link below.
Doing the things that I love to do, being in nature, walking at the beach, watching the sunrise, all the things that soothe your soul, right? Yes. And I thought, there's no way I can get out of bed with this awful autoimmune disease. And it's like, well, why didn't anybody teach me how I could heal? And I had to take matters in my own hand and do it for myself.